hope you're doing well. And you've celebrated Christmas, and now you're in the after time where you hopefully are getting some semblance of rest, enjoying just the, how can I say it, the sweet memory of what happened so quickly. All the kids and grandkids opening their presents, going very quickly, a good meal, and probably still feasting on that meal. I hope you have time off of work and everything's going well for you. I want to read a verse. It's in verse 16 of Jeremiah chapter 6. It says this, "Thus says the Lord, stand by the ways and see and ask for the ancient paths, where the good way is, and walk in it, and you'll find rest for your soul." But they said, "We will not walk in it." Now, I just want you to take a moment and think about that. What I find interesting is that oftentimes, and I'm certainly sure that I'm just as guilty of this as every person listening to my voice, that when we were in a younger part of life, we thought that we knew everything, that we knew that we were so much more informed than those that had gone before us. And there is a degree of truth to that. It's something that the modern world has provided for us. We have technologies that we didn't have. We can gain information that we didn't know. But I want you to just take a moment and think. I'm reminded of this every time I go back and stay at the farmhouse. There, in my mind, are all of these paths that would lead to certain places, whether it be a tobacco barn or a chicken coop or the pig pen or the stable or, down to the river, whatever it may be. There was all these various paths that we would walk down. There was a path that went by the field from my grandfather's house to my uncle's house, and we would pretty much walk that every day. There were all these paths, and we knew exactly where we were going because the paths were there. And in a way, that kind of reminds me of life. There are people in our lives that have lived out a decent life, a good life. They've lived a testimony. Perhaps at some point they strayed, but does that mean that the good that they did wasn't of value to you? Almost every person I know has had some degree of flaw in their life that another person could point to and say this isn't what it should be. And if they were honest with themselves, it would point right back to them, because none of us are perfect. But I think the issue is, can we begin to mark out those elements of life in another person's life that truly are a testimony of Christ, things that we can draw to and can direct us, and things that kind of give us an idea of the direction that we want our life to go in. I hope you can. I hope there's people in your life like that. And if not, in many ways I pity you, because you have no sure direction. And if you say, well, I'm just trusting God, that's kind of like the person that was in the flood on the top of the roof and wouldn't accept when the boat came or the helicopter came or any other. He was trusting God. God sent others, just like God has placed people in our lives, some good and some bad. But either way, even the people in my life that have had bad results have taught me guidelines, shown me guardrails. But there's been so much good, just so much good. And I worry that in our generation now, that we've just kind of lost sight of all those examples that are out there in our life, people that have maturely adjusted to life, that have grown in Jesus Christ, that have sought him out, that have gone through the bumps and bruises, that have learned over the, and through the heartache of life, they've learned so much about what it means to be a spiritual believer. They've kept Christ in the forefront in Hebrews 12:1. He's been the author and the finisher of their faith. And they kept the joy before them and endured the suffering. I worry that we don't have time for those people today. And in so doing, we find ourselves off course. Let's put it that way. Actually, if you were in Virginia, you stayed on the path because there were ticks everywhere if you got into the weeds. And if it wasn't the ticks, it was the brambles and all the other things, that chiggers and all other things that were living in those plants that just wanted to suck your blood. You stayed on the path. Not to mention the snakes and the many other things. You stayed on the path. It was the secure place to be. And for us, God has sent people before us. He's allowed us to view them in life, both the good and the bad, whether it be the guardrail or whether it be the road that we should walk. I would just encourage you to stay on. When it says ancient paths, it means the ways that God has revealed for people to live. And there are people that have lived a life pursuing Christ. And in all of our lives, let's search these people out. Let's seek for them. I guess search for them. And when we find them, let's mark that down. That's a path I want to walk on. Till next time, friends. God bless you.